Hi, it's Mary Dawn. Thank you for joining me and the rest of the Clearsnap design team as we celebrate our Proud to Be Made in the USA blog hop this Labor Day. In this video, I'll show you how to create the flower embellishment on my card, as well as give you some tips for using multicolor ink pads.
First, I'm going to show you how I inked my stamp for the background, for the stars background. The stamp I'm using is Life of the Party Stars from Hero Arts in Basic Gray, and because the ink pad is multicolored, I inked up the top portion and I tried to keep my stamp pad even so I didn't get too much red in the white or blue in the white. And then when it was time to ink the rest of my stamp, I just turned my stamp pad over and met blue with blue. And you can make a wide blue stripe or not. It's up to you. And that just about gets the whole stamp. This is pigment ink, so it's thicker. The molecules are larger than in dye ink. And so it sits on top of your paper instead of sinks in. So I wanted to show that. I wanted to show how vibrant the pigment ink would show up on colored cardstock. So I chose Craft. And when I use a large background, I leave it face up and I lay my paper down. And while one hand is still, the other hand moves on all the surface that it can reach. And then I hold that hand still and move the other hand on all the areas that it can reach. And I want to get good contact on all areas of the stamp. And there. Beautiful. So there is that. I also used the multicolor ink pad to stamp my flowers for my embellishment. Took my stamp to the pad this time, and because it's a clear stamp, it's easy to see where I am. And I just kept the red on the red and the blue on the blue. I didn't get, I'm gonna have to go back in here. I didn't get ink on all of it. And that's what's great about clear stamps. You can see where you are. And then I stamped. So I stamped the large flower and the small flower. I cut those out, so I've gone ahead and done that. Then I wanted a nice bold center. So I have these giant brads. They're from Cosmo Cricut. But I didn't like the gold. So I decided that I would color my brad. And I used Top Boss watermark ink. It's a nice wet ink, good for embossing and for making, it makes a nice watermark on colored cardstock. So I'm gonna get my brad wet with the watermark ink. It's a nice juicy pad, so you can see the wetness. And then I used my husband's jewelry pliers. In fact, I don't know why I call them my husband's. I'm just gonna call them mine because they don't leave my desk anymore. And because it's metal, it'll get hot really fast. So I just hold them and sprinkle the white embossing powder all over my brad. And you wanna hold them with pliers or reverse tweezers, something that you can grip with, because it will get hot. And it will get hot quicker than something that you're embossing that's paper. So I'm gonna emboss this really quick with my embossing heat tool. And you'll see it starts to melt really fast. There it goes. And it goes really quickly once it starts because it's metal. Okay, there's that one coat. Now I'm gonna let this cool instead of putting it in the instead of putting it right back in the embossing powder, I'm going to use the ink again. Because I'm not fast enough really to for it to be hot all over. I found that if I did try and do it, it would be cooled off already on one side. So I put it in the embossing ink again, and now I'm gonna sprinkle it with my white embossing powder. This is also Clearsnap Top Boss embossing powder. And I'm gonna heat it up. Sorry about that. I hit my tripod. And you can see as you get more coats, it starts to smooth out. I'm gonna need one more, I think. And I'm gonna let it cool off. And I just fan it or blow on it or whatever. Now it slipped, but it was cooled enough that I could put my hand in it, put my hand on it. Oh, it wasn't cooled off enough. You see that? My embossing slipped, but that's okay. We can fix it with some more embossing powder and some more heat. You will get embossing powder on your flyers, but you can heat it up and melt it, and once it's melty, you can wipe it off with a paper towel. Now see, that's smoothed out and looks just right. I'm gonna dip that in because it didn't look like it was covering very well on the top. And there. My brad is white instead of gold now, or brass. So I put a piece of scratch paper down and it's collected my embossing powder. So I'm gonna take a Clearsnap craft funnel and just use the paper to funnel it back in. There you go. The Clearsnap embossing powders come in these neat little rectangular cubes, and they store and stack really nicely. So I've got a nice covering. It's still warm. And I'm gonna put my flower together. Because the prongs on this brad are pretty big, I'm just gonna put the hole in my, in the middle of my flower with a pair of scissors so that it's wide enough, so that it's kind of a slit instead of a hole, and push my brad through. Everybody knows how to do this. And you can leave it flat like this, but what I did with mine is I used my fingers and I just curled each petal just a little bit to give my flower some dimension. There you go. I also used the multicolor Made in the USA ink pad to ink my sentiment, and I just used the same technique. It's a clear stamp. I just used the same technique that I used on the large and small flowers. I could see where I was going, and I just tapped it until it was inked enough, and then I stamped it. Thanks for joining me on the Proud to be Made in the USA blog hop with Clearsnap and the design team. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you.